The infamous Black Widow Las Vegas was about to have her day in court. Tonight, in our multi-part series, Margaret Rudin's run from the law is now over, and the murder trial of her millionaire husband, Ron Rudin, is underway.
13 investigative reporter Joe Bartel shows you the unforgettable moments and was able to track down one of the jurors who is learning something new about Margaret 20 years later as she prepares to leave prison on parole next month. This is part 4 of our exclusive series, The Black Widow: Web of Deception.
Tucked away among the rows and rows of videotapes at Channel 13 is a rich treasure trove of Las Vegas history.
There was problems. He was a difficult person at times. But yes, I did love him.
That was Margaret in February 2001, giving News 13 at the time an interview just days before the opening statements in a case that was about to be broadcast live on national TV.
Why would someone want to kill Ron?
I wish I could answer that. I wish I could.
The state's case was presented by Gary Guyman and Deputy District Attorney Chris Owens. They detailed the meticulous planning and brutal killing of Ron Rudin, jealousy, anger, and especially greed, the main motivation they argued.
There was some marital discord, if you will, and of course under the property or the community property laws of the state, you're entitled to 50%. Ronald Rudin dying, Margaret Rudin would believe that she would be entitled to 100%.
The opening statements made by defense attorney Michael Amador in March 2001 left the courtroom and Judge Joe Bonaventure stunned.
Everybody got concerned at opening statements when Michael Amador stood in front of the jury and was completely unprepared.
A rambling, nonsensical speech got the defense off to a wobbly start, and things went from bad to worse when the defense attempted to reenact the bedroom shooting.
Right now I'm going to shoot you.
The defense stages this reenactment of the murder. They bring in a movie set of Ron Rudin's bedroom, and one of the attorneys is lying down in bed, and the other one goes bang, bang, bang with a, fake gun.
The display set the judge and prosecutors off.
Mr. Mamet and Mr. Petaro just did some kind of reenactment in front of the jury, very loudly, I think putting their credibility into evidence, making themselves witness, without any basis for doing that. This was more than just the numerous arguments they've been making spontaneously in front of the jury. This was some kind of reenactment of the thing with both of them. It was unprofessional. It's unethical. I've never seen anything like that.
There was, of course, an objection from the prosecution because defense attorneys are not allowed to testify. Somebody else has to say. They can't put on a show like this. It's not a school play. And then Bonaventure just erupted.
The defense team scolded. Then, at one point during the 9.5-week trial, Margaret spoke up and asked the judge to stop the proceedings.
There came a point in the trial, and everyone was wondering, what's wrong with Michael Amador? And Margaret speaks up, and she has a very soft voice, speaks with a southern accent. She's from Tennessee, and she said, Your Honor, I would like a mistrial.
Her argument? Her attorney wasn't prepared enough for trial.
It's very hard to get a mistrial for ineffective counsel. You're not guaranteed perfect representation in America, but you are expected to have effective, competent counsel, and the judge said, maybe it's not the best, but it falls well within the legal guidelines.
The trial went on and took more twists and turns. Prosecutors called Donna Cantrell Robinson, Margaret's baby sister, to the stand.
How many years separate the two of you?
About 8.5.
Donna was the key witness who flipped on Margaret, testifying she knew Margaret bugged Ron's office to hear his conversations and was totaling up his wealth.
One of the things she had said to me once we were in the offices is that there had been an appraisal of Lee Canyon with an appraisal value of $3.5 million.
Means, motive, and opportunity. Prosecutors argued Margaret had all three. Donna provided one more parting shot when she testified about a confrontation with her sister, point blank.
Tell me who got into your high security house, surrounded by dogs, shot and killed Ron in the bedroom, removed him, cleaned up the room so that you didn't notice anything amiss, drove him 40 miles to the desert, decapitated and burned him, and brought his car back to town. And I said, Margaret, does that sound like the mob to you?
The defense offered up its own theory, describing Ron as having shady business dealings with even more unsavory characters.
Margaret comes up with this notion that, well, it must have been the drug lords that killed him because that's what they do. That's how they get back at people that they're dealing with.
Ron was a licensed gun collector. There was talk he had connections to South America.
She had mentioned that Ron was involved with running guns to Colombian drug lords in South America. Part of that was because he had access to so many weapons. He was a licensed gun dealer and he had hundreds of weapons at his disposal at his house.
But the jury didn't buy it, and on May 2nd, 2001,
We find the defendant guilty.
Margaret Rudin, unfazed, stoic, cold.
And when I read that verdict, I looked right in her eyes and I paused symbolically. And when I said the word guilty, she didn't even blink.
Rudin, 58 at the time, was now a convicted murderer.
Margaret just showed this steely resolve. There wasn't much of a reaction at all, and that surprised people. She's going away 20 years to life. She's an older woman, I think well into her 50s. This could be a death sentence for her.
Rudin wouldn't go quietly in the months after her trial ended, filing court appeals and granting another interview with News 13.
And I objected to the foreman. The man that they ultimately made the foreman, number 5. At the time, I said to both of them, I leaned over and I said, I don't like him. I think that we should reject him.
No, this is the first time I've ever heard that. And I find that to be kind of funny because if I thought for 1 second that she was innocent, I'd have hung that jury myself.
Ron Vast was juror number 5 and the jury foreman. All these years later, learning Margaret wanted him off the case from the start.
Often thought that I could maybe be a target when she got out because I was kind of instrumental in getting the verdict that we got.
Margaret never got her retrial and maintains her innocence to this day.
The story of Margaret Rudin brings us to California and then inside the evidence vault at the Regional Justice Center for a rare look at the actual evidence used to put her away, plus the ominous warning from people who know her as she prepares to be released from prison. Our finale, The Black Widow, Web of Deception, is tomorrow, live at 11. Joe Bartels, 13 Investigates.